All right. First rule of this channel, we not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel, this is not legal advice. So this is going to be Chasing the Dragon for week 3 of fantasy football. This is the reactive waiver wire show, the guys that we should have known about or the guys that we didn't know about. So anyway, not the greatest week when it comes to chasing the dragon on the waiver wire. I think this is more of an after waivers week, but I don't know what your roster looks like and I don't know how competitive your league is. So we're going to talk about some of those guys. First and foremost, if you're in one of those leagues where you're either streaming your defenses or you're deep enough that you're already like stacking something on the bottom of your bench for next week, we're going to talk about some of those defenses that are out there. So right now with Buffalo going up against Miami, the line right now in Vegas is like ESPN is 12.5-point favorite. So that looks like the Buffalo Bills are going to be getting after the Dolphins in this one a little bit. So we can chase the Buffalo Bills if they're available out there. Let me move over to my notes so I can look at stuff. Right now, Packers, they may be elite going up against Cleveland. They're 7.5-point favorites, chasing sacks. Sacks lead to turnovers. Turnovers lead to like potentially like some type of defensive score. That's the thought process behind this. Other ones that are out there right now, we're looking at like Colts going up against the rookie and Cam Ward with the Titans. Buccaneers right now going up against the Jets. The Jets may be a train wreck on offense after last week. Falcons right now, if we're going to chasing a little bit of Bryce Young, I don't know if I would necessarily be wanting to chase that one, but we could talk about like, can we predict that ahead of time? And Seahawks going up against the Saints, that would probably be the defense that I would be rolling. I don't think the Seahawks should be available in your league, but if they are, I'd be going after them. And then finally, the Chiefs, they're another one that shouldn't be available, but if they are going up against the Giants, we could talk about predicting that one ahead of time. All right, some of the players that like should have been picked up last week, if they're still available, prioritizing them. Remember, a guy like Daniel Jones, even if you have a quarterback, probably if he's a league winner, I don't want him on someone else's roster or even in someone's lineup at this point. We can talk about like if we can predict this ahead of time. He would be a guy like I would be prioritizing reactively off the wire. Tootin right now, whatever Bashale Tootin for the Jaguars. His snaps did go up to 25% snap. I was expecting a little bit more. He did get a red zone opportunity on this one, more red zone. He tugged on that one. So you're probably looking somewhere between maybe you're going to get a little bit of like a low end RB2 type guy or definitely a cuff. So I would be a little bit aggressive on him if he's still available in your league. Guys that when you're wrong when it comes to Jawan Johnson. He did get an 18-yard red zone tug, 9 targets. So again, like if you missed out on your Tucker Crafts or your Ty Warrens or something like that, like there you go, missing out on these guys. Like I would not be chasing Jawan Johnson with your roster, but that's because he's burned me before. Like if other than that, like yeah, he's a good guy to go pick up. I did look at this before I went live. 60% Trey Benson. So if he's available, his usage went up to 44%. I'm more interested in the 6 targets that he had because that's a little bit more valuable than the rushing work that he may or may not have gotten. So like you're looking at the snap share going up, more receiving work, good stuff when it comes to Trey Benson if he's available, and then Harold Fannin. 63% snaps. That's a little down, but he did go 5 for 5 for 48. If you missed out on those tight ends that you probably should have been going after in your drafts. I'm going to start off with Russell Wilson, and there's a reason behind this. This is one of those things that like we could have talked about, like, hey, 450 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. We could have predicted this. Now, would I have rolled him? No. But this is the matchup. Dallas, the Giants go over against Dallas. Dallas was able to have a really bad defense and some type of functional offense. It turned into a shootout. So a lot of this is like, hey, can we predict the matchup? More so than like, I don't like that guy for reasons. The matchup is going to be a little bit more important. And then also, does that guy have toys to go with that matchup? Those are the 2 things that we're going to be looking at. So probably would not be rolling Russ against the Chiefs, but you do you on that one if you're going to chase this 450 yard 3 touchdown week. Now, Mac Jones, 3 touchdown passes. He does have a lot of toys. This Cardinal game is probably going to be like really slow and ugly. Probably wouldn't be chasing him this week with your roster. Jake Browning, he's god tier backup quarterback. You could go back to like 2023 where like he probably won people fantasy championships rolling your Jake Browning at the end of the season. In this case, with Jake Browning, and I'll go back to this, the Vikings defense, because of how they're designed, live by the blitz, die by the blitz. He's got a lot of toys. This game could turn into like a sneaky shootout. I don't know how much I would want to be rolling Jake Browning reactively if I could get away with not doing it, but you may be in a situation where like you have to go out and do it. Marcus Mariota, he may have the keys to the Redskins offense for the time being. And in this case, when it comes down to like nimbly bimbly, that's all you got to know when it comes down to that. Now, Spencer Rattler, absolutely not. especially against the matchup. So if you're chasing the 3 touchdown passes, no, I wouldn't do it. And then finally, like the guy that if you're gonna get like really dicey with your all your upside, you're rolling your Carson Wentz right now with those toys, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, all those guys. Rolling up against the Bengals and that bad defense and all those toys with Jake Browning, this may be like fantasy magic when it comes down. It's like so if you miss out on your Danny Dimes, like you may be rolling your Carson Wentz this week when it comes down to it. All right, running back situation, not a lot to be talking about. Chasing the Dragon, Kyle Monangane, 41% snaps. I went and looked it up. He had a red zone opportunity compared to DeAndre Swift. Now you may be saying, hey, guy on the internet, they got blown out. He was in on the opening drive. So this 41% snaps isn't just all aberration, and there was no Roschon. Roschon, I guess, was like active. He just didn't play, and he did 41% snaps. I don't know how many guys we could talk about having the ability to win leagues that are still on your waiver wire. That's the long and short of it. And then the other long and short of it with Blake Corum, he went up to 30% snaps. He had red zone work with Kyren Williams in a game that was somewhat competitive when it comes down to the Titans. And the other thing you got to remember with the Rams in this one is late in the game, he went full bell cow. Like they gave him a full drive to himself, just being Blake Corum. So, Cuff maybe with a little bit of fall in the end zone upside. That's all you got for running backs this week. If Trey Benson's not available on your wire. All right. Wide receiver situation for the Broncos. Troy Franklin should have been a guy that could have been picked up in certain leagues, stashed after waivers. He jumps to 83% snaps, 9 for 8 for 89, and a red zone tug. One of the things I will talk about with Troy Franklin, he only had 61 air yards, but he probably has a higher week-to-week ceiling because of his speed than Courtland Sutton does as a bully and a red zone target guy. But if you put that all together with Troy Franklin, he may end up having 150-yard air yard game, and then you have this massive spike week. The 11 for 8 for 150 and 2 touchdowns. That's probably more within Troy Franklin's wheelhouse than like Courtland Sutton at this point in their careers. And now Wan'Dale Robinson, this is another one where like I said last week on After Waivers, won't win anybody in any leagues unless we get smart and cute and roll them in good matchups. 70 snaps, 10 for 8 for 142 and a touchdown. He had like 168 air yards, which is not really how he's using the offense. We could talk about how that translates forward. Probably wouldn't be doing it against the Chiefs. Maybe you're going to get it against the Chargers. Maybe we could talk about that going forward. But again, like these are the guys, like if you're in deep enough leagues that you're chasing your Wan'Dale Robinson, if he's sitting on their bottom of your bench, I probably would not be attacking him. He could be someone else's problem. If you're bad enough off that you're rolling your Wan'Dale Robinson so you can get like maybe your 8.5 half point PPR on a week-to-week basis, maybe. And now we can talk about like their possibility of a spike. You got to be in like bad enough spot where like you're rolling him on a week-to-week basis to really, I think, attack him at this point reactively. Now, if he clears waivers and he's available and you're in a bad spot, like I could see that a little bit, because you're also going to have like your Hunter Renfrow, 81% snaps, 9 for 7 for 48, 9 targets, good, 7 receptions are good, 48 receiving yards is bad, 2 receiving touchdowns, 5 red zone targets. Yeah, there's something there to like, down the line if the Panthers are going to be throwing, especially late in your games. Tight ends, not a lot of them. If you missed out on like your Jawan Johnson or your Harold Fannings, in this case, Jatavion Sanders, his snap stayed rather consistent, 66% snaps, 9 for 7 for 54, and 4 red zone targets to go along with it. So if he stays consistent, especially in a game that may have a little bit more shootout to it with the Falcons, I could see that happening. And then with the Redskins, if he's available, like you see like 53% snaps, like 90% snaps, that spike probably because of Jake Bates and Noah whatever. The wide receiver 3 for the Redskins is going to bother me. Can't remember his name. Noah Brown. So with Noah Brown being out and then Jake Bates being out, like that's why you would have like 90% snaps when it comes to like Zach Ertz. In this case, like that would make me think like there may be a little bit more to this. And remember, when you get backup quarterbacks in the game, they tend to attack their running backs. So this would be an upgrade to Bill. And then they go after their tight ends a little bit more, and then they go after their wide receivers. So I could definitely see this being a little bit consistent, but it's because you missed out on all those other guys that you should have been going after when it comes to these things. I may or may not be dropping Hawk in my league. I'll have to talk about this with my co-manager because of the JJ McCarthy news. Hawk may find its way onto your waiver wire in a lot of leagues, and you might get an upgrade in him. That would be like after waivers, more so than Night Fight for him. So anyway, that's about what I got for Chasing the Dragon. And tomorrow night, same bat time, same bat shadow.